Welcome back to the Tidarium Hanger. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well today. Today I want to talk to you about aging out. And I did watch a video over on Deluxe Baldwin's channel. Great dude. And if you want to go over there and watch his video where he's talking about, is it too old? Are you too old to collect toys? Or what age is too old to collect toys? So if you want to go over there, check his video out and let him know that Mike sent you a Tidarium Hanger. Probably make his day. But he did get me thinking. We did just go through something. We'd experienced something that probably is a good indicator of what people in our age group are going to do when we retire. Now, there's going to be a lot of factors and variables that will be different, like health is a big factor, and then, of course, finance, money, and all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about all of that. But I did make a video sort of touching on this topic, but it's been almost a year, so I guess it's time to do it again. And now I've got a different angle and perspective to go by. Let's talk about this and more coming up. So we literally came off of a case study of what our age group, our demographic, the 45 to 55 year range, plus or minus a couple years, for the most part. That's the bulk majority of people that are collecting the things from the 80s and those franchises and then modern releases of that. And with that, we saw this in 2020 with the pandemic. Now, with a lot of people not having to go to work, they got excited about their hobbies and collecting and having fun. And I will put this out there, there were quite a few people that still had to work. They were a necessity. And even those people got excited about collecting also. Someone like myself who has been collecting Star Wars and Transformers for over 20 years at that point, 22 years at that point, something along those lines, maybe 23. So collecting for that long, I was focused, hyper-focused on Star Wars and Transformers. But I'd already started branching off and picking up some other toy lines here and there, and watching all these other people get excited about franchises that I really didn't know much about, but I started looking into it, and I was like, it's kind of a fun toy line that I can collect on the side while I'm collecting my other stuff. And then there were other people getting excited about toy lines. I had some figures as a kid, but didn't realize that there was more to that toy line or how much more there was. It was kind of fun. It was a fun time. 2020 was actually the best year of my life. Yeah, I did get sick for a week, and it really wasn't that bad, and I got over it. Some people did lose their lives. I understand that. But this is still, even as bad as it was for a lot of people, it was a case study in collecting. Now, I'm also going to put this out there because I'm going to hear a lot of it in the comments. Not everybody got the helicopter money. Not everybody got extra money. I wouldn't have got any money if I didn't have kids. So I got the extra money for having kids, I guess. But I didn't get any of that unemployment, that sweet extra $600 on top of unemployment and all that kind of stuff. I didn't get that. I didn't get any of this other, like, put all your bills on hold for a couple of years kind of deal. None of that really was for me. But a lot of people did, and they chose to spend that excess money on collecting. And I saw that. I saw that happen. That won't be available when we actually retire. I don't think it's going to be available when we retire. Probably the opposite situation where you're living on a fixed income. But we are going to get into the money aspect of this. But I had never seen more people excited about collecting. And as a long-term collector who kind of felt like it was a very small niche group, it almost felt like everybody in the world was collecting for a while there. And with that, what's going to happen when all of us, we collectors, retire? Well, it's going to be a mixed bag. There's really two major factors that will be different than what we saw in that case study of 2020, and it is going to be money. The fixed income when you retire, it is much harder to get by. You're going to be sitting there thinking, am I going to eat, or am I going to buy a toy? And with that, a lot of times you're going to choose eating, or you're going to choose other things that are necessities over collecting when you're in your 70s. But that doesn't mean that you're going to get rid of all of your collection, sit in an empty room and stare out a window. See, you're probably going to have a bunch of stuff, but occasionally add an item to it. You know, it's one of those things that as long as you have something to look forward to, then life's worth living. And that's kind of a philosophy that I've heard thrown around, especially when you start thinking about and hearing about people that are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. There's a stat that I heard, it stuck with me. I heard this a long time ago back in college, that the highest earning age for the average U.S. citizen, but it's probably worldwide, is in your 50s. So your 50s is when you sort of top out. And according to this, it's 54. So from 35 to 64, the median income stays about the same. And the median income can definitely be skewed a whole bunch of different ways. But if you look at your own personal life, do you make more in your 50s than you did in your 30s and 40s? And do you make more in your 50s than you will in your 60s and 70s? So income is an issue. It is a situation, meaning that right now, our demographic is driving the sales, and the people that are creating this stuff for the 80s, Transformers, not so much Star Wars anymore, but all the other franchises, they're being funded by us who are in this age group and have a disposable income that we may not have in our 70s, 20 years from now. Now, a lot of people, when they retire, downsize, especially when you see that the kids move away, you got a big old empty house, which is 2 people, and the bills start becoming more and more expensive just for 2 people. And you can downsize. I have a contingency plan. I actually will move back into the first house that we bought and sell this one and make a bunch of money, hopefully. I mean, we'll see how that goes. But that's a contingency plan if it needs to happen. But I don't think it's going to have to happen, but it's a contingency plan. But as you can see, it's something that people do. They downsize their home, their living space, so not as much space to display your collection, to enjoy your collection, to store your collection. And with that, the collection goes. That's part of the aging process if downsizing is a factor. Now, if you're already in a house that you feel like it's not too big and I'm just going to live in it forever, then you are in a very good situation. I myself am in a situation where I will have to downsize my collection if I downsize my house. The next thing is, with the budget aspect, is fewer purchases. But it's also, if you're, let's say you're a Masterpiece Transformer collection. In 20 years, I view the market as still being there, but fewer and fewer and fewer releases. Meaning that you're not getting 6 Masterpiece Transformers in a month, you get 1 every couple of months. And that's really how Masterpiece collecting was in the early days. And nowadays, it's to the point that it's getting oversaturated, and I see the oversaturation dissipating between now and the time that our generation ultimately retires. The other aspect of this is going to be health, and tips for seniors for staying healthy. It's the same tips that's for every human being. It's pretty much the same thing. You do the same things. You try to eat healthy, you try to exercise, balanced diet, all that kind of stuff. But one thing that's in here is the socialize. And one thing that really does extend people's lives is having some social network, some feeling of belonging. And when you collect and you're collecting in the community, you have a feeling of belonging. And that's something that is there. And I like to point that out. But also that other thing I pointed out before, having something else to look forward to periodically. Now, I don't want to get too morbid or anything, but not all of us are going to make it to 70. That's just a fact of life, a fact of reality. Some of us are going to make it through the 50s, and then maybe in the 60s, it doesn't work out, right? And with that, there's going to be less collectors, smaller market, and as people do start to pass away, collectors pass away, it's sad. I mean, I hear about this, no one that I know personally, but people that I have heard about, and it is sad. It's a sad part of reality, but the market is shrinking, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, and it's very sorrow, but their collections get sold off. Usually, their collections get sold off way cheaper than what they paid in some cases, but that's probably something that's going to happen far more frequently as we age up into our 70s. And at that point, though, is there even going to be a buying market for people that are wanting to buy that stuff? It's going to be like, that's more of what I already have. I'd rather have more collectors alive. The other thing I want to talk about is this whole misnomer that people are just going to hit a certain age and stop collecting, stop having a hobby. But as you age, the benefits of having hobbies is even more important. And looking at this is a nice little chart here this is just generalized to hobbies, but it's kind of fun to see, more productive. One of the things that I've found, and I've heard in another study, is that if you go on a vacation and you get away from your job and your daily routine and you go to a new place you've never been before, that you're challenging your mind, and when you come back, you're more productive. Well, it's sort of the same thing when you're collecting in a hobby and you're getting something new, especially Masterpiece Transformers. One thing I've noticed about older people is that the older people get, the more nostalgic they become. And the more they want to tell you their old stories back in my day, and I did this, and they want to reminisce. But they don't want to reminisce about what happened last week. They don't want to tell you so much a story about last Friday this happened. They want to tell you about what happened in 1946. And they want you to benefit from their knowledge, their wisdom, their experiences. But a big part of it is nostalgic for those times. And we're always going to be. If you're in this right now, you're nostalgic for the 80s, you're nostalgic for the 70s, you're nostalgic for the 90s, and you're going to still be nostalgic for that even when you're 70. Probably even more when you're 70. You're probably going to pick up some nostalgia from stuff that's going on in 2024. And you're going to say, Mike, you already made a video like this 11 months ago, but this is a little bit different route, but I'm still curious what you guys think about this topic. Do you feel like you'll still be collecting when you're 70? Will you be collecting in 2048? Or will you just turn 70, sell everything off, and just sit there and stare out the window? Or will your nursing home room have a shelf of Transformers on it? You let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Tydirium Hanger out.